Hi, welcome to Eastern Wellness with Dr. Sufei Kaim. Eastern Wellness with Dr. Kaim is a weekly podcast meant for anyone looking for ways to improve the quality of their life, regardless of their current health status. Eastern Wellness with Dr. Kaim covers a variety of different health and wellness topics like nutrition, sleep, exercise, toxins, emotional health, and so much more. Dr. Kaim interviews health experts about tips, techniques, and trends in wellness, as well as regular people who have their own wellness pearls to share. For more health and wellness tips and resources, visit Dr. Sufei Kaim's YouTube channel, and that's Dr. Sufei Kaim, Sufeikime. Thanks for listening.
On today's episode, I sit down with Lynn Mayer, and who is a nutritionist and in Colorado. And so tell us about yourself and what do you do, Lynn, and your area of expertise.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kaim. Yes, I'm a nutrition consultant. I've been in private practice for 21 years. I was a nutrition consultant in a chiropractic office about 12 years prior to that. And I'm still in private practice, but I am also a standard process mentor now, where in a position I'm of guidance and counsel to standard process practitioners of all, acupuncturists, nutrition consultants, medical doctors, dentists, massage therapists, everybody. So I thought it would be just interesting to share how I got into studying nutrition. Is that I had a very bad case of mono when I was in my early 20s, and it was from working 2 part-time jobs and going to college, and really stressed myself out. And I had a pretty bad case of it. I had an inflamed spleen and an inflamed liver, and I was in bed all summer. And my menstrual cycle stopped for 2 years after that. And so the medical model kept wanting to put me on the birth control pill, which my body doesn't handle medications well, any of that. So I tried it 2 or 3 times and nothing was happening. So my journey of nutrition began because during that summer I was in, reading nutritional books. And it was finally when I went and bought myself some nutritional supplements, and granted they weren't standard process, but my period started on its own. I had just been obviously very nutritionally depleted. So that's what got my curiosity and my interest. So I studied nutrition in college, and then, have worked those 2-3 different positions in my own practice. Yeah.
Okay. And so what are your 3 top wellness tips?
So my wellness tips are, because I'm very much more into prevention and wanting to help people, just get, be well in their daily life. So my 3 top wellness tips are to eat real foods from Mother Earth, organic and pasture raised, as much as people can, to drink plenty of clean, non-fluoridated, non-chlorinated water, and then to be sure and get out in the sunshine and out and walking in nature and getting fresh air and getting some exercise, on at least 5 times a week, if not daily. It's just so good for the soul. So I like people to start, and I've been fortunate with my practice in San Diego, starting in San Diego, and then in Telluride, Colorado. It's a healthy group of people. And so they were pretty much doing those foundational aspects in their lifestyle and in their self-care. And so then, then nutritional support, then, okay, so what do we need to help further support the body on top of having those basic lifestyle foundational things that people are doing to take care of themselves. And, in some places in our nation, it's not that way at all. And so you have to start back up and, teach people how to just shop and eat and take care of themselves first,
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So What's your favorite success story?
Well, I thought it would be interesting to share this one with you, Dr. Keim, because
Okay.
you're in the goiter belt, right? Where
Yes.
iodine is a, and this was in one of my very first, my very early years. And it was a woman who came in for nutritional support. And she said, I am so tired. I can't sleep at night, but I'm so tired. And she said, and take a look at my fingernails. And she held up her fingernails, and she had very long fingernails, but they were very soft. And they would just bend like this. And so I took note of that. And the only thing that I physically did with her that day as I do the nutritional exam was I did the iodine roller on her, on the inside of her arm to see what her iodine status was. Well, she came back in the next day and she goes, can I do that again? And I said, what? That iodine roller. She said, I slept the best I've slept last night. I woke up energized, and look at my fingernails. And if I hadn't seen it myself, I wouldn't have believed it. Her fingernails, which had just bent, totally bent over, were now nice and taut. So, and strong. And that was just one dose of iodine. Her body was that deficient in iodine that it soaked it through the skin, so I thought that would be an interesting story. So we got her, part of her wellness care was getting her and supporting her thyroid, getting her on the iodine. And then she started to sleep better and have more energy during the day and strong fingernails. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that story, being
Yeah.
in iodine deficient area. Yeah.
Since we do not have a lot of seafood, that kind of stuff. It's
right.
In the Midwest, we usually have meat and potato.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, what's the best health and wellness advice you ever given?
Well, I always fix the digestion first. So that's, where I, always start is helping, fixing the digestion first. Because if I could give people a lot of supplements, but if they're not digesting them and absorbing them and metabolizing that all well, and I teach people how to sit and eat, chew their food well and be very present with their meals so that their body can make its own digestive support as much as it can, and then come along and support it with some, hydrochloric acid, Zypan from a standard process point of view, or apple cider vinegar to get the acidity right in their stomach, and enzymes. It was interesting. Can I share another story?
Yes.
I had a couple that came in, and again, this was in my early years, and he was a big, huge man, a big teddy bear. I mean, he was just tall in stature and, just a big, and his wife was very small and petite. And she was like a butterfly flying around the office the whole time. They came in together. And I did a nutritional exam on her first. And then she, of course, was staring at her watch the whole time. I got to go, I got to go, I got to go. So she took off. And then I was able to be present with her husband. And I was picking up that he needed quite a bit of digestive support. And he just seemed so low key and so calm that I said, I don't understand why I'm picking up that you need so much hydrochloric acid. I said, do you sit and are you present with your meals? Or is there stress at your meal times, especially at dinner time? He goes, oh yeah. He says, I get home and my wife pulls out her honey-do list. And the whole dinner is about what I need to do, what I haven't gotten done, and everything. So he was under an incredible amount of stress with his dinner time. And that's why he was needing, because stress causes us to stop producing our hydrochloric acid in our stomach, which we need to help digest our food. So yeah, so it was a very telling case of where somebody just really needed to, I said, well, have her put her list away and just be present with you for dinner. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. What's the most common challenge to health and wellness you are seeing in your practice right now?
Probably people being scared of the COVID virus, you know, and not trusting their own immune system. That's probably what I'm seeing most of. Although most of my clients right now, because of my dual work relationships, are pretty well trained, and they do understand their immune system, but there's that underlying, I'm concerned, you know, about the virus. So we spend a lot of time, you know, making sure that people are taking all of their immune support, you know, their Imuplex, their calcium lactate, their omega-3s, just making sure they're foundationally, making sure then they're following, you know, the wellness of making sure they're eating really well, taking care of themselves, drinking plenty of, you know, clean water, getting themselves outside, and for their understanding that even if you do get COVID or you're diagnosed with that's what you have, to not be scared of it. It doesn't mean that you've failed at all. You've been supporting yourself, and anybody who has come down with COVID has just gotten a very mild case of it, and their body recognizes it and understands it and gets on the other side of it. So I would say that's what I'm, you know, dealing with. And if people have had the portion of the COVID that has taken away their sense of smell and their taste, then to make sure that I get them on zinc, even more zinc, because their immune system has used up their zinc in their fighting off, you know, the virus, you know, mounting an immune response. So it's just, you know, helping people. Everybody's a little bit different case, but for the most part, you know, I haven't seen that much of it because most people are just taking good care of themselves.
So you mentioned about the clean water. So why can we drink the water from the tap? Why don't we drink the tap water?
Well, because the water in our tap for sure has chlorine in it, and the chlorine takes up the space for our thyroid. We need iodine, right? So here's another iodine story for people. We need iodine, and if we're drinking either fluorinated water or chlorinated water, and some of us they're putting both fluorine or fluoride in the water and chlorine in the water, and then people are drinking it, and that's taking up the receptor sites where the iodine should be. So it's making their iodine intake and absorption even less than it should be. And there's a lot of evidence from early on that, you know, with Dr. Lee's teachings, that, you know, chlorine upsets the alloxin. It can lend itself to creating diabetes in the long term, which we've seen that, you know, rise. We've seen a big rise in thyroid problems, which is the need for iodine. And if the fluorine and the chlorine are getting in the way and disturbing our water, then that can be part of what's leading us to those dynamics that are happening that we're seeing in people's health. So it's good to get spring water, you know, artesian well water, and you know, some of the let's see, I'm thinking of, I'm not as familiar. I tend to get the artesian, you know, water, so I don't have to worry about filter systems in the house. So I'm not as familiar with what some of the filtering systems are, but people really need to educate them about the fluoridated water and the chlorinated water.
So let's say
Yeah.
if we go to Walmart, what will you buy in Walmart?
I don't know, because I don't shop in Walmart, but if I was to go, El Dorado is a very good brand.
Okay.
You know, look for the ones that are spring water or artesian water. Artesian water means they've been gotten from wells that are very deep, you know, and they're very clean. Yes.
Okay, got you. Okay, who is a health and wellness innovator you admire and respect?
Well, I have a triad. I have
Okay.
a trio.
Okay.
I mean, I've had many wellness masters, that I've studied under all the way, of my journey. But, my triad is, of course, Dr. Royal Lee, who founded Standard Process, and Mark Anderson, who heads up our territories here in Colorado, and who's written, along with Bernard Jensen, a book, Empty Harvest, and he's probably the best teacher and understander of Dr. Lee's work. And then, of course, Joseph Antel, our wise Joseph Antel from Standard Process, and who's headed up the Heart Sound recording project and teachings and interpretations. So I've been totally blessed with many masters I've gotten to study with along the way, but they're my top trio.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Next question. Are there any new health and wellness trends you want to try?
I thought about that, and the answer to that is no. I don't want to try. What I want to do is support people going back to returning the health to our soils and to our farms. And there's a big movement for that, to get us back to organic farming, for pasture raised beef, to one of my favorite teachers recently on YouTube is Zach Bush. I don't know if you've watched him at all, medical doctor who's working a lot with farmers and getting people off the commerciality of our farming and getting people back to really taking care of their soils, getting and rebuilding the soil and growing some amazing foods. And the farmers, it's called Farmer's Footprint, is a short documentary on a particular, that effort, and teaching the farmers how to get back to really appreciating the soil, taking care of their farms, rotating them properly. And the farmers are like having so much more fun, growing their food and being farmers again. Because when they were under the auspices of government subsidy programs and having to do it the way that our government said, then their farms weren't producing the foods as the healthiness of the foods. It wasn't as fun. That's where I'm wanting to spend more time, or I've always been interested in it, but I just really want to help and support, that effort of people. We talked just prior to our getting on today about how you said how little of a voice nutrition has, how little of a voice alternative care practitioners have. But I also shared with you that it's a much bigger voice than when I very first started out. I was one of the very first teachers of nutrition, and now, of course, you see it everywhere in YouTube. And I used to think that I had to. How do you work with the corporate world? How do you get them to change? And I kept thinking I had to start at the top and then work down. And what I realized is, no, it was teaching every person to vote with their dollar. And so how much more we're seeing organic foods, in our grocery stores, how many more people are taking an interest in, what they're eating and nutrition, and getting back to some of the basics. So it's been slow and it's been long, but I'm just tickled that it's a much bigger voice than we've had, along the way. And then the corporations then take note, oh, these people are wanting organic foods. So then they, start producing more organic foods and making them more available in their stores, which then increases and enhances the organic farmers, in appreciating and wanting to participate in that work.
That's really interesting because, in the Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, everything is about the food. If we can have the good food, and that's all we need. because you know the chemical, you just can, I mean, we want to eat the food to support our body. We don't need the chemical to have reaction in our body.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So so how can the listener connect with you?
Oh, well, you can put my email in there.
Okay.
Yeah, Lynn Mayer at sbcglobal.net.
Awesome.
If you want to put that in the, you know, the chat box. I'd like to say I have a website, but it's a very out of date one, but it's called thejoyofhealth.com. And the reason why I just understand that it hasn't been tended to lately as it should have. But what does exist on there is a whole series of articles that I wrote. I used to write for the Daily Planet and Telluride when I first started there. And so there's a lot of articles that could be read there that might be of interest to people. But just please understand, I haven't tended to my website in a while, but the articles are still there.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So if from what we talk about, would you have some 24-hour challenge for the listeners?
I would say to take any one of those, you know, 3 things that I said. You know, somebody may be eating really good food, but they're not getting out and walking. So can you just make, you know, and people think, oh, I have to go out for an hour's walk or I have to go to the gym, and that's just not true. There's been research that's been done that it's the first 20 minutes of your walking, your exercise, where the body gains the most benefit. So, you know, to just a baby step is just, and the hardest part, if you haven't been walking or getting yourself outside, is to put on your tennis shoes. Because once we get on our tennis shoes and get outside, and we do that, and I find that if we do that for 3 days in a row, all of a sudden our body and soul starts to wake up to it and go, oh, you know, and look forward to it. And if you're getting your exercise and you're eating good foods, but you haven't thought about the content of your water and the cleanliness of your water, then just, you know, explore that and see what, how you might find spring water or artesian water, or get a filter for your house that would take out that chlorine and the fluoridation. Are those good baby steps?
Yes, yes. I mean, that's really cool. Because, so why walking is so important?
Well, it gets your body moving. It gets the lymph moving, and just being outside, you're breathing fresh air, which is so important, especially as we're all in this kind of lockdown place. Every place is different as far as their rules and their guidelines, but it's just really important to breathe in fresh air and to be out in nature and appreciate the colors, the sights, the sounds, the birds, the trees. And I always recommend too that when people are outside, that they take off their sunglasses. That it's real important when you're outside to, you know, put on a visor. You don't want the sun blaring down, but it's real important for your eyes to take in the colors. And each of the colors of our environment has a different vibration, and it actually feeds our chakras in our body. So to be sure to take off your sunglasses and even if you're sitting on your porch or deck and just looking at all the colors, you know, that's really helpful for your health as well. But did I answer your question? So that
yes,
yeah.
So,
and
yeah, go ahead.
And just walking, because for some people, you know, running puts too much of a stress on their knees and their joints and their hips and stuff. And it's been found that just walking is very regenerative and gets our body loosened up and our lymph system moving. Yeah.
So how can the listener to put in the so busy schedule? So how do they put into the walking into the busy schedule?
Well, it's getting a little bit easier now as the days are getting longer in light, but I personally find if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it doesn't get done. And so I, don't have children, so I don't have to get everybody off to school, but I encourage people who do have children, get the children off to school. Of course, now if they're home, all the time, or maybe they go on a walk, together. But like I said, it doesn't have to be a full hour, just 20 minutes, 30 minutes, to fit in and find the best time of the day that works for you. For me, like I said, if I don't get it done first thing in the morning, it often doesn't get done because I just get busy with my day like everybody else does. And then to do it first thing in the morning, it does kind of set the stage for how you're going to be with the rest of your day. If your body's, had that time outside and kind of set the stage for that. I'm trying to think of some other suggestions I've had for people. I do work with people, in each case, because everybody's a little bit different. So, I'll work with them and find how we can find that time for them to do that in their particular case. Yeah.
So what happened like for the people cannot move well? So how do they, to create a good habit, like the challenge, to go out to take a walk?
So, well, and they could be looking on YouTube or be directed. There's a lot of exercise programs where people stay in their chairs, like in nursing homes or facilities like that, where maybe just doing some weights or some, yoga movements or things like that they can do while they're sitting in their chair, or maybe some exercises that they can be doing just staying in their home but just at least moving in their home.
Okay.
Yep. And like they'll teach, there's, some Tai Chi is a really good, I'm sure, exercise class that people might be able to do. You don't have to move around much. But you are moving and being present with your body. I guess I was thinking of Joseph yesterday sharing how he goes up and down his stairs, but if you have trouble moving.
Yeah. Like if you are overweight and you just difficult to go take a walk. So how could we get them off the couch?
Yeah.
Off the computer, so go out to take a walk.
Just, it would be slow. And of course, if they're very overweight and carrying a lot of extra weight, then part of your goal is to help people get that extra weight off, so it's not placing such a burden on the body and the joints and all of that. And to be able to, find some kind of a gentle movement that they could do that's, they could take a break throughout the day, get up off the couch, get up, from behind their computer. I usually, get up and move around at least every 45 minutes or an hour. I've got a house with 3 sets of stairs. So, I also will just, if it's a snowy day or something, just make trips up and down the stairs to just get my body moving, doing some stretching in between, because I don't do well when I just sit in a stationary position all day in front of my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn. We have a wonderful time. And then thank you so much for your amazing story and the tip for the health and wellness. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is fun to be with you all. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.